The haters logged on Thursday morning thinking they had their story ready. Their talking points were locked in: the loss at Indian Wells to Lyndon Escova, that brutal 6-2, 6-0 scoreline, easily the worst result of Alex Eala's career. They were prepared to say she cracked under pressure, that her ranking was a mirage, and that she didn't belong among the sports elite. They had their receipts, their narrative, and everything lined up to tear her down before Miami had even begun. But then Monday happened. Then Tuesday. And by Wednesday, everything had changed. Photos started spreading across Filipino WhatsApp groups around the world. The Miami Heat's Instagram lit up. The Broken Rackets red carpet gallery went viral, showing exactly who was present at the most exclusive and glamorous event of the tennis calendar. Suddenly, the narrative collapsed. The critics had nothing left to say. Because you can't write a takedown piece about a player who just walked into David Grutman's legendary Miami Open Gala, an event Broken Rackets themselves dubbed the Met Gala of tennis, and stood shoulder to shoulder with stars like Aryna Sabalenka, Matteo Berrettini, Taylor Fritz, Frances Tiafoe, and Caroline Wozniacki. You can't call her irrelevant when one of the most celebrated Filipino-American coaches in NBA history publicly called her a powerhouse. And you certainly can't dismiss her when Miami itself, the city, its culture, its courts, and its energy, has fully embraced her as one of its own. The party had already begun, without the haters. And this video is about everything they completely missed. To understand just how big this moment is, you have to see the full picture, because context is what turns a good story into an unforgettable one. It's the week of March 16, 2026. The Miami Open is just days away from kicking off at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. This isn't just another stop on the ATP and WTA calendar, it's one of the most glamorous events in tennis. Miami brings together vibrant culture, electric nightlife, luxury dining, iconic beaches, and a constant stream of celebrities. For 2 weeks, it becomes a perfect blend of sport, spectacle, and South Florida heat, set in one of the most culturally rich cities in the United States. Every player wants to compete here. Every celebrity wants to be courtside. Every brand wants to be seen. And right into the middle of this world walks Alex Eala, ranked number 29 in the world and seeded 31st. Just 1 year ago, she arrived at this very tournament as a wild card, ranked 140th globally. Now, everything is different. Within just 72 hours of landing in Miami, she had already attended the Met Gala of tennis, stepped into the home arena of an NBA dynasty, and been publicly called a powerhouse by one of the greatest coaches in basketball history. Think about that for a second. When was the last time a 20-year-old tennis player had a week like this? The answer is simple. It hasn't happened before. Let's start with Monday, March 16th. At the Kaseya Center, the home of the Miami Heat, Alex Eala made a special visit where she reunited with head coach Erik Spoelstra. This is the same coach who led the Heat to back-to-back NBA championships in 2012 and 2013 alongside LeBron James, and who holds the record as the most successful coach in franchise history. On that very day, Spoelstra secured his 700th career NBA coaching win as Miami defeated the Charlotte Hornets. Yet despite the milestone, he made time for Eala, not after the game, not in passing, and not just a quick handshake in the hallway.
So amazing. That's why I stayed to watch the night match, to hear the fans, to feel the energy that comes, because that's all we talk about.
They didn't just capture the moment. They turned it into a feature video, polished it, and shared it across their official social media platforms. The caption immediately caught fire across the Filipino internet. Just two powerhouses repping the Philippines at the highest level. That single word, powerhouses, carried enormous weight. Not rising stars, not talented athletes, but powerhouses. This wasn't, or careless wording. The Miami Heat, one of the most media-savvy and commercially precise franchises in global sports, chose that word intentionally. For an NBA championship coach and a 20-year-old tennis player who hasn't yet won a Grand Slam. Because that's exactly what they represent. Erik Spoelstra is the first Asian-American head coach to ever win an NBA championship, the first in league history. Alex Eala is rewriting history in her own sport. The first Filipino woman to break into the WTA top 30, the first to reach a WTA 1000 semifinal, the first to defeat a top 5 player as a wildcard. Always the first. Two Filipinos, both pioneers, both standing in the same arena on the same day, and the Miami Heat effectively saying, "These are ours." Imagine what that moment means to a young girl in Quezon City, watching on her phone with a racket leaning against her bedroom wall, dreaming of something that feels impossibly far away. She's now seeing the greatest Filipino-American figure in U.S. professional sports standing beside the greatest Filipino tennis player ever, and being celebrated together on one of the biggest stages in sports culture. Their story actually began back in 2023, when Eala was just 17 years old, ranked outside the top 150, attending her first ever Miami Heat game. That night, she took photos with Spoelstra and Bam Adebayo, completely unaware that it coincided with Spoelstra's 700th career coaching win. Fast forward 3 years, and everything has changed. She's now ranked inside the top 30, returning to the same arena not as a fan, but as a featured athlete, someone the franchise itself highlights and celebrates. The Heat didn't just acknowledge her, they built content around her return. That transformation, from outside the top 150 to world number 29, from spectator to centerpiece, isn't just progress. It's a complete metamorphosis. And for those who've spent the last year calling her rise luck, the evidence is becoming impossible to ignore. This is sustained, measurable growth over time. But that Monday moment was only the beginning. What came next elevated the story to another level entirely. Because when the tennis world's most exclusive social event opened its doors for the Miami Open pre-tournament celebration, everything shifted into a different gear. David Grutman, the name behind Miami's most elite hospitality empire, is the architect of that world. His venues define South Beach nightlife, and his events aren't something you attend, they're something you're invited into. And for this year's Miami Open celebration, he assembled a guest list that read like a who's who of global tennis. Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 1 and defending Miami champion, was there. Grigor Dimitrov, Taylor Fritz, Frances Tiafoe, Matteo Berrettini, Paige Lorenz, Eva Liss, Marta Kostyuk, and Caroline Wozniacki, all in the same room. This was the A-list of the sport, gathered under one roof for the most exclusive night of the tournament week. And Alex Eala was right there among them, dressed effortlessly, standing shoulder to shoulder with champions, legends, and global stars. The moment was captured and shared by Broken Rackets, who described the event as the Met Gala of tennis. That comparison says everything. The Met Gala is the pinnacle of exclusivity, culture, and global attention, and now that same label was being applied to an event Eala attended as part of the inner circle. Now consider the contrast. Just 1 year earlier, she arrived in Miami as a wild card ranked 140th in the world. No seeding, no spotlight, no expectations. The very same establishment that filled that gala, players, coaches, insiders, saw her as a background figure, someone scheduled on smaller courts, expected to quietly exit early. But 1 year later, she's not just present, she belongs. She's seeded. She's top 30. She's beaten 5 top 10 players in the past year. She's not entering through the back door, she's in the room as a peer. As someone whose name fans search first when the draw is released. But beyond the glamour, the real challenge begins on the court. The stakes at this year's Miami Open are massive. The 390 ranking points she earned from last year's semifinal run are now on the line. Her performance here will determine whether she solidifies her place in the top 30 or slips back into a tightly contested field just outside it. And while she returns as a more complete player, stronger serve, better placement, improved rally tolerance, and smarter shot selection, the challenge is tougher than ever. Defending points on the WTA Tour is one of the hardest tasks in tennis. Opponents have studied her game for a full year now. The element of surprise is gone. What she has instead is something far more valuable: experience, growth, and unshakable belief. She's no longer trying to prove she belongs, she already knows she does. Her opening challenge is 36-year-old German veteran Laura Siegemund, one of the oldest players in the top 60, who has struggled for form throughout 2026, failing to get past the round of 64 in 5 straight tournaments. That match represents the doorway. Win it, and a blockbuster rematch could be waiting in the round of 32, against Iga Swiatek, the very player Eala defeated 6-2, 7-5 on the same court just 12 months ago. Eala's 2025 Miami run was built on fearless, aggressive tennis. She stormed through the draw, taking down Yelena Ostapenko, Madison Keys, and Swiatek before eventually falling to Jessica Pegula in the semifinals. Now, the possibility of facing Swiatek again, on her return to the scene of that loss, adds a new layer of intensity. There's no doubt Swiatek has spent time preparing, studying Eala's left-handed angles, her cross-court forehand, and her aggressive baseline play. If the rematch happens, it won't be the same match. It will be a tactical battle between two elite players who now understand each other deeply. But there's one factor no preparation can fully account for: the atmosphere. When the lights come on at Hard Rock Stadium and thousands of Filipino fans rise in support, the energy becomes something else entirely. The flags, the chants, the noise, it's a force. It's something Eala feeds off, something she feels like a second heartbeat. And for her opponent, it becomes pressure of a completely different kind. And then there are the critics, the ones who said her 2025 Miami run was a fluke. They claimed the draw was easy, that her opponents underperformed, that the Filipino crowd was just a temporary wave of hype. They predicted she would fade, that her name would disappear within months. But since then, she's kept proving them wrong at every step. She beat a top 10 player in Dubai. Lucky, they said. She defeated Coco Gauff at Indian Wells. Injury, they argued. She climbed to world number 29. Inflated rankings, they insisted. Yet while they were busy crafting new criticisms, Eala was building something undeniable. She stood inside Casilla Center alongside Eric Spoelstra. She walked the red carpet at what was called the Met Gala of tennis. She shared space with world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka and former world number 1 Caroline Wozniacki at one of the most exclusive events of the Miami Open. And through it all, one message stood out: just two powerhouses repping the Philippines at the highest level. That word, powerhouses, defines everything. Not prospects. Not lucky stories. Not temporary sensations. Powerhouses. Because none of this happens by accident. You don't get invited into David Grutman's world by chance. You don't receive a tribute from an NBA franchise by coincidence. You don't earn a seated position and a first-round bye at a WTA 1000 event without proving your level. You don't get recognized by champions unless you belong among them. Alexandra Eala has gone from an unknown wildcard to a global phenomenon. She has driven ticket sales, drawn massive crowds, and helped spark a tennis movement in the Philippines. She hasn't just risen, she's reshaped expectations. As ESPN put it in 2026, she isn't chasing another great run, she's proving it was never a fluke. The party has already happened. The red carpet has been walked. The spotlight is fully on. The critics are on the outside looking in, and that's where they'll stay. Because this is what it looks like when belief, talent, and opportunity collide at the perfect moment. Miami 2026 isn't just another tournament. It's her stage, her city, her moment. And the world already knows, Alexandra Eala belongs here.